The Atlanta Dream with another strong win over a top team. This time, it was the Minnesota Lynx on their home court. They're the first team to do that this season, during the regular season at least, because we're still on this wave of trying to act like the Commissioner's Cup did not exist. For the sake of the conversation, this is the first loss on their home court, 90 to 86. It was a really rough fourth quarter that I almost didn't think the Dream were going to make it to the finish line for because of just all of the stoppage and turnovers and fouls and letting Fee do Fee things, MVP type of things. Although I did discuss that in my last episode where I think that there is competition in that conversation. I don't think we're just giving that to Nafisa Collier because Alyssa Thomas has something to say. But overall, a great time out for Atlanta, 52% from the floor compared to the Lynx's 56%. So both teams shot really well. Atlanta was just 8 for 18, but that led to a 44% overall three-point outing, and that's up from what they have been shooting in recent times before the Rhyne Howard injury, honestly. And I think it's time for us to have that conversation. Do the Atlanta Dream play better without Rhyne Howard? We had the conversation for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and I think that it's valid at this time because Rhyne Howard is also a ball dominant player. And there have been moments, and I believe that I've talked about this before, where Ryan has to be in this ISO situation and take over the game, but sometimes it leads to ill-advised shots or turnovers, and it gets them out of the flow of their offense. And it's also similar to the Indiana Fever situation where the players are always looking for Clark when Clark is in the game and it's kind of a distraction. I can say the same thing about this Atlanta team. Right now, they're moving the ball a lot better. It doesn't stick as much as it does when Ryan is in the lineup. So when Ryan returns, because she's going to return next month, how are they going to make those adjustments? Because right now they're playing the best basketball that they played all season, and they were already playing damn good basketball with Ryan. So I think that, and I'm hoping that since she's on the sideline taking heed to the flow, that she comes in and gives that energy of moving the ball and not feeling like she has to put everything on her back. I think that players that have the ability to score at the level that Ryan does, they struggle with balancing, do I take over the game in this moment? Do I trust the offense? Do I trust my teammates? And I believe that's what has happened in the past. And I think that, with the weapons that Atlanta has and then the coming alive of Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, because I think that she's finally doing what they brought her to do. What they brought her into Atlanta to do. She's finally doing that in that role position. And I think Tahina Paopao was given good minutes. They finally got back to playing Nia Coffey. Nia Coffey got good minutes in his win. So everybody is learning to trust each other, and it's a process, and it comes in waves too, because honestly with the flow of the game, I know that some things can get missed by coaching, because a few of those games I didn't understand why Nia Coffey was not getting minutes after she's shown throughout the season, especially in the beginning of the season, that she is trustworthy, that she's one of the best defensive players in the league, and she comes in and make an impact immediately. Speaking of defense, Nas Hillmon was just really impactful on the defensive end, especially when it comes to Nafisa Collier. I'll keep saying it. Nas Hillmon has some of the best defense in the league, and she should definitely get some nods for Defensive Player of the Year. Although she may not win it this season, she's definitely a Defensive Player of the Year caliber player in the future. And right now, she has some of the best defense in the league already. It's just maybe not showing up in the stat sheet like you have a Nafisa Collier that's getting a lot of blocks, or Asia Wilson that's getting leading in blocks, but as far as just straight up defense, she really has it. Jordin Canada has just been solid throughout the last couple of games. In this game, she had 18 and 3 assists, 4 rebounds on 50% shooting. Alicia Gray didn't get going as much as we've seen her get going as of late, but 12 points, and it came when they needed them. So sometimes it's not, how many points you make is the shots that you do make and when you make them. But Brittany Griner, 22 points. That's the type of output that they need from BG. She made 1 3, so I'm happy to see her get back to taking that, because she did stray away from that for a minute. but on 61% shooting. She's just highly efficient. Her stroke is just like, it's hard to block anyway at like 6'7". So when she gets it, it's almost automatic. But in the third quarter, they started to get away from going inside. So I'm glad that they got back to that in the fourth quarter because that's the bread and butter, especially when they're not hitting it from outside. Now, this game, they happened to make some from outside. So it was a good even spread to be able to draw defenders out to even get BG those looks. I just really think that it was an overall great team effort from the Dream. And that's what they have to do to get to the championship because I still believe that they are a championship caliber team. You're like, Coach C, who you rooting for? I'm definitely rooting for Atlanta always. I want them to go as far as they can go, but I don't think they need to even shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars. I think that they can shoot for the moon and really say, hey, we can do this. If they're beating the Minnesota Lynx, first of all, the first time that they played the Minnesota Lynx, that game was a winnable game for them then, but there were just a couple of lapses and they were still going through the phases of trying to bring home a win, trying to close out in the fourth quarter. Although they still had those struggles in this game, I think their defense really impacted the Minnesota Lynx. They had a good amount of turnovers. So looking at the turnovers for the Lynx, 16 turnovers for the Lynx, and they conceded 15 points. Atlanta had 18 turnovers and they conceded 19 points. So really a jump scare when you look at those stats. And then when you're actually watching the game unfold in real time, those moments that I just wanted to close my eyes. I couldn't even talk. Like people that follow me at WBB.365 on Threads know that I'm tweeting or threading throughout the games, but when the games are too close and I'm nervous, sometimes I don't want to say anything. And that's how they had me in this matchup because I'm like, oh my God, if we can't get the ball in. Like our inbound plays, we have to work on those because there's been turnovers after that. Just that needs to be an area of focus because you have to have that lockdown if you're trying to make a deep run into the playoffs, especially in a defensive team like Minnesota because they were hovering over Atlanta a lot. They are one of the best defensive teams in the league, and Cheryl Reeve is definitely that type of coach. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Maya Caldwell. Although she doesn't give you volume scoring, 9 points is a strong effort for her. And when she's in this starting lineup, she's been effective these last few games that she's been in the starting lineup for Rhyne Howard because her shot selection has improved from the opening games. If you watch my videos in the past, I critique like I don't like her taking as many 3-pointers that she was taking earlier in the season. But at this point, I think that she is improved that 3-point shot because she was 2 for 3 tonight and 3 for 4 overall. She is explosive off the dribble. So I think that she's a triple threat. I guess that's a basketball pun. She's a triple threat. She can take you off the bounce. She can take you in the mid range and she can take you for that 3-point shot now that her game has expanded. So I'm really liking what I see from Maya Caldwell. And then you have Brianna Jones, who didn't score volume scoring either, just 7 points in this matchup, 3 for 6 from the floor, so that's still efficient. But her defense, she was very active on defense, shutting down. Well, she wasn't able to shut down Nafisa Collier too much, and Nafisa had like 30 points, but she was able to defend as well as she can. Nafisa is so skilled that it's really hard to shut her down, but she was at least able to slow the other players down, like Elena Smith, who had 12, and just able to cut off some of those paint points and get some of those second chance points. She ended up having 2 offensive rebounds, and those were clutch rebounds. Bridget Carlton didn't score. She only took 3 shot attempts, and for Minnesota to be successful, they have to have Bridget Carlton being that X factor that they know that she can be. But she also has to put up more shots, but attribute that to Atlanta's perimeter defense. She wasn't able to get a lot of things off, and they were forcing her to dribble in, and that's really not the flow. That's really not her flow. She's really a catch and shoot type of player. Elena Smith had 12. She was shaken up a bit, and honestly, I felt like Elena should have taken a game off or 2 earlier on in the season because she's been getting banged up since the finals last year, to be honest. It just always looks like she's playing through pain. And I know that Coach Reeve talked about load management and being something that the league prioritizes now more than ever, but it just looks like Elena may need to take a break, especially before getting too deep in the season where she can't take a break because again, the finals last season, she was banged up playing through back injuries and it was just a lot of wear and tear on her body and she's very important to this team. Nafisa Collier flirted with a triple double, a 32-point game, 7 assists, 8 rebounds. It's just unreal, especially after comparing her to Alyssa Thomas and just showing how Alyssa Thomas has been able to fill up the stat sheet in 3 major categories. And she's flirting with a triple double on the season. Nafisa is like, hold my beer, Coach C. I got you. So a really strong game from Nafisa is kind of sad for the Lynx anyway, for her to not be able to come up with a win after such a performance. Kayla McBride really struggled in this one, 4 points on 2 for 9 shooting. So she really wasn't able to get going in this matchup. Again, attributed to the Atlanta Dreams defense. Courtney Williams had 11 points on 5 for 12 shooting, 9 assists. So she was able to really get the ball movement and really help the flow of their offense. Natisha Heideman had 10 points off of the bench and 3 assists. So she was great in that supporting cast. Diamond Miller was also big for Minnesota. And I just have to say, if Diamond was on another team, she'd probably be a franchise player. I think that Diamond Miller has a very high ceiling. She is super athletic, has great footwork, super skilled. You can tell that she's locked in, and she's had some big moments for the Lynx. She played just 16 minutes in this one. They probably could have gave her more minutes, especially with Kayla McBride struggling the way that she did. But that's, trusting your bench. And I've talked about that with Coach Reeve earlier in the season. So as they continue to move deeper in the season, closer to the playoffs, I think that they're going to have to look to Diamond Miller more if they're going to want to win, especially in moments where Kayla McBride is struggling. Very strong effort for the Dream. Their next game will be against the Valkyries, and it'll be a home game. It's July 29th, so Rhyne Howard will still be out. The Valkyries will be without Kayla Thornton, and they're still trying to figure things out without Kayla because she has been such a huge part to the team. Just not even with only her on-court play, she's been revered as one of their leaders on the court and off the court. So that was a really big blow to their system. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back, but I'm hoping that Atlanta continues to trend upward and don't take this game for granted and just keep honing in on those little things and closing out games because right now it's the race to the championship at this point. And the rankings right now, Atlanta is still number 2 in the conference under the Liberty, but they're 4th overall. So it's the Lynx still number 1, Liberty number 2. You got Phoenix, who also won tonight, at number 3, and then the Dream at number 4, and number 5 is the Seattle Storm. So the race to the top. And I'm very interested to see how this thing pans out because all of these games just have been, you just never really know on any given night there can be an upset. But what are your thoughts, Hoops Tribe? How are you feeling about this Atlanta versus Minnesota game? Let's talk hoops.